Hi, it's John. Welcome to my channel, EV Intuition, where I give you the good and the bad, the pro and the con, all to help you understand about electric vehicles. Today I'm talking about taking electric vehicles on a road trip. I was recently having a conversation with a friend about going on a road trip, and he said to me, "You're not going to take your electric vehicle, are you?" And I go, "Yeah, I like taking my electric vehicle, even on road trips." But it brings up the point that there are certain drawbacks to taking an electric vehicle on a road trip. So today I'm going to discuss those points and how they impact me. So let's get started. Before I begin, I want to remind you that if you like the content of my channel, please subscribe and give me a like. Send me any comments you have also. Today I'm talking about taking an electric vehicle on a road trip. Now, when I talk about electric vehicle here, I'm talking about a full electric vehicle. Because if you got a hybrid, going on a road trip with a hybrid, you can easily switch to the gas drivetrain and it'll be just like driving a gas vehicle. So I'm strictly talking about here full EVs or battery electric vehicles. And there are certain drawbacks to taking an electric vehicle on a road trip. So when I began thinking about it, I think there's basically four major or drawbacks that you should be aware of about electric vehicles on road trips. And this is all relative to gas vehicles. So the first point that you got to remember is that the range of an EV on average is less than that of a gas vehicle. The second one is the number of fast chargers that are available. The third one is charging time. It takes longer to charge an electric vehicle than it is to fuel a gas vehicle. And the last thing, the cost of fast chargers, which are the chargers you typically use on a road trip, are more than charging at home. So there's some price differences when you're on the road in recharging your vehicle. I want to talk through each of those and explain those issues to you so that you understand what you're dealing with taking an electric vehicle on a road trip. So let's first start out with range. We all know that range has been one of the shortcomings of electric vehicles compared to gas vehicles, but they've come a long way since the beginning of electric vehicles. And nowadays, most electric vehicles have an EPA rated range between 300 and 400 miles. Now, there are still some that are in the 200 or upper 200s, but there's a fair number now over 300 and some over 400 if you get into some of the higher end vehicles. But the key things you have to know about this is that the EPA range is just not the number that you got to think of. First of all, highway range on an EV is less than the city range of an electric vehicle. Unlike gas vehicles where city miles per gallon and highway miles per gallon have the opposite effect, where highway you get more miles per gallon in the highway on a gas vehicle than you do in a city. Electric vehicles are the opposite. So let's say your car says it gets 300 miles in EPA range. That's a combined city highway. So in reality, you're going to get less than that on the highway. For example, my Tesla Model Y, EPA was 330 miles. Now, Tesla also has this history of having a EPA value that is way out of line with its highway efficiency. The reality is I get maybe 270 miles maximum on my Tesla Model Y. Even though the EPA range is in the 300, I'm getting a lot less than that on the highway. That's number one. Number two around range is that when you charge, typically you don't charge to 100% because of the time factor. And we'll get into charging time in a little bit, but you don't charge typically at 100%. So now, let's say you charge to 80%, which is kind of a rule of thumb. That 80% of mileage is going to bring your total range even lower, 20% lower. For example, I get 270 miles on a highway with my Tesla Model Y. If I only charge to 80%, now my mileage is down to 216. The bottom line is when I go out on a road trip, I'm thinking that I'm only going to get about 3 hours of driving time before I have to recharge. So that's kind of just a base rule of thumb I think of when taking an electric vehicle on a road trip. And you can see for 3 hours, that's a lot less than gas vehicles can go. I know with Some gas vehicles, I've gone over 5 hours straight driving that. You're not going to do that in an electric vehicle. And so you got to realize that you're going to make more stops for refueling, or in the case of electric vehicles, recharging. Now, the second drawback to taking an electric vehicle on a road trip is the number of available chargers. Unlike gas stations, which you can probably typically find every 10 to 20 miles easily on a highway in most places and available on many exits, that doesn't happen with EV fast chargers, which is the type of charger that you want to use so that you can quickly get back on the road. So that's one concern. Now, the other thing is that when you show up at an electric vehicle charger, that charger may not be available because it might be in use or it could possibly be broken. And these are things that people have run into and are an obvious concern to people that are driving an EV on a road trip. The good news is this is one area electric vehicles over the last couple of years that have been definitely improving. There's a lot more chargers out there, and the number of chargers that are broken are less and less. I think EV charging companies are doing a better job at getting to those particular chargers and fixing them soon. Now, Tesla, which has been, for the most part, the state of the art as far as chargers go, have had one of the best records of keeping their chargers available and online, and they continue to do that today. That is kind of the gold standard that I think other charging companies are trying to mirror. It's a real concern, and it is a drawback. The third drawback in taking an electric vehicle on a road trip is charging times. As you know, with a gas vehicle, you pull into a gas station, you're there maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes at most, and then you're back on the road again. With an electric vehicle, you're going to be there at least probably 10, 15 minutes minimal, but could be there up to an hour. And that depends on a lot of factors. One, the biggest one is your vehicle itself, because electric vehicles vary in how fast they charge. And a couple aspects of that is one, the maximum charge rate, which you can find in the specs. And number two, the charge curve, because they actually don't stay at the maximum very long. They tend to reduce the amount of power that they take electricity in as they approach 100%. And very seldom do you charge to 100%. Because it gets very slow as you're getting closer and closer to 100%. So anyway, those are things that impact your charging time: is the vehicle, the charge curve itself, and the charger spec, meaning how fast of a charger it is. And then really, from what state of charge are you starting at and planning to end with? So those are big factors in determining how long you're going to spend in an electric vehicle. It's not the same with the gas vehicles, where the gas pretty much flows at very similar rate and at the max rate until your gas tank is full. Now, the fourth area that impacts electric vehicles on road trips is the cost of electricity using the fast chargers. Now, most people charge at home, and I certainly do, and that's where I charge the most. But the electricity that I have at my home costs 7 cents per kilowatt hour. But the electricity, when you go to a fast charger, can vary anywhere from 30 cents per kilowatt hour to over 70 cents per kilowatt hour. That's quite a big difference, especially between that and the home charging price. And when you start figuring out, well, what's it costing me per mile, you're starting to approach the efficiency of a gas vehicle. And in some cases, the advantage that you had of saving money is certainly reduced, but also could be eliminated. So those are things that you got to keep in mind when you're going on a road trip, is that your savings are not going to be as good, and maybe less than a gas vehicle. The other thing that I find a little difficult today is finding the cost per kilowatt hour of energy. Now, unlike gas stations would have these big signs, sometimes protruding in the air and telling you there's a gas station a couple miles ahead and you can see the price, etc. Electric vehicle chargers don't have their price lit up on a sign that you can see from a distance. You can maybe see it when you walk up to the terminal and look at the screen, but you're not going to see it from far away. The key thing around this is that you've got to look through some sort of app, and I'll probably get into that in another video showing you the best ways to find the cost of high-speed or fast chargers. But the bottom line is, the drawback is your advantage to use an electric vehicle on a road trip certainly decreases and may go away versus the cost of gasoline. So in summary, I mentioned that there's 4 different drawbacks to take an electric vehicle on a road trip. And like I said to my friend when he asked me, "You're not going to take your EV on a road trip?" And I said, "Yes, I am." First of all, the range of the EV, yes, it's less. And as I mentioned, typically I'm stopping every 3 hours. Well, for me, that's good enough. I like stopping every 3 hours. Not like I was when I was a lot younger, where I'd go 5+ hours in a car without stopping, and then I refill and go 5+ more hours. I like the ability to stop every 3 hours, take a bathroom break, stretch my legs, stretch my back. I think it's a lot better for my body. So at this point in my life, the 3-hour stopping time for electric vehicles is not a problem for me. So I don't have that problem. Also, the number of chargers with my Tesla, the Tesla finds superchargers very easily. So I don't have to worry about the fact that there's not a lot of chargers around. It'll take me to the appropriate charger. And the last thing is, which is a real thing, the cost of electric vehicle, the time of electric vehicle chargers. I don't mind that also because typically I'm taking a rest stop and maybe I'm grabbing something to eat. That time to me doesn't matter that much. And the last one is the cost of it. You're right. I'm not saving as much on a road trip as I do driving around town and charging at my home, but I still get some savings, and mainly because Tesla superchargers tend to be a lot less than some other electric vehicle chargers. For example, I did a comparison, this is in New York State now, where there was a charger, and Apple Green is the vendor supplier of road stops in the New York State Thruway across New York State. And they have electric vehicle chargers there. And I looked up their cost, and their cost is 64 cents per kilowatt hour. And in the same area, I looked up a Tesla supercharger, what it costs. And it costs about 38 cents per kilowatt hour. Significant difference between the two. And with 38 cents, I'm still saving money compared to gas. Now, if I was getting it at 64 cents, probably not so much. So that's where I'm at, and that's why I still take my electric vehicle on road trips, plus all the advantages of quiet, smooth ride, low maintenance. I don't have to worry about belts or oil leaks or things like that you have to deal with a car. There's so much less that can go wrong with an electric vehicle. So I'm taking my electric vehicle on a road trip. And so don't be scared away by the drawbacks, but realize that they're there. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope to see you next time. Thanks.